What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to our final Battle Roar figure that they made for Godzilla, Kong, the New Empire. Of course, this is by Playmates, but as of now, this is the final Battle Roar figure. They could make more. There's a very good chance they might make more, but for now, we only have 3. Godzilla, Kong, and of course, the antagonist of this movie, Skar King. Now, I already did Godzilla and Kong previously before this one, so if you missed those reviews and you want to check them out, of course, you can click on the link in the description, end screen, and of course, the cards on the top right corner of the screen. Today, we're going to be looking at the new Battle Roar figure, because obviously, Kong and Godzilla, we have them before from 2021 when Godzilla vs. Kong. And even though those are remakes, they are technically characters that already had Battle Roar figures. This is a completely new one. Of course, Skar King, this is a new character. Legendary made this up. It ain't a Toho exclusive monster. This is a new character. I hope he's going to be super badass. I mean, the trailer just came out as the time of this recording, and the trailer showed a lot, and it was epic. And Skar King really looked like he means business. So, let's see if this 7-inch figure will deliver as well. Now, I have zero expectations going to this figure because obviously there's nothing of this character prior. This is a new perspective. So I'm hoping we're gonna get something good out of it. If they were able to rectify Kong and Godzilla, I hope they do this one good. You know, if it starts off good, then we're in for a good quality figure for sure. So let's get right into it. First things first is our render of our 2 Alpha Titans here. This is going to be the standard for all packages going forward. These are the batteries that you will need if your battery dies on this figure and you need a repair. This is what you're gonna get. And then this is, of course, the monster battle sounds. Skar King, Battle Roar. I like how Battle Roar is like this cartoon font, and then Skar King's more of a professional looking font. We have this side, and then we have the other side. This is the standard. You know, it's the same thing. And then the bottom, nothing too interesting going on the bottom. Your barcode and all that. And then, of course, the back is where it's at. Now, the back is the same with the other 2 Battle Roar figures, where they literally show off the entire list of all 3 Battle Roar figures you can get. Obviously, there's Kong, Godzilla, and, of course, this one, Skar King. Now, you will also notice that there is a big gaping hole at the back here, and that's the exact same situation with Kong, whereas because these figures are in an open package, these figures are very interactive, and of course, if you see these in the store, you can pick this up, you know, give it a try, fiddle with it a little bit, and most importantly, you can try the Battle Roar feature even before purchasing it, and that's why this is here. This is the little demo, and of course, like Kong, you just push it, and you can hear his Battle Roars. So let's see what it looks like from the front. As I said for Kong, like, this is a great interactive purpose. They can help you determine as you try it out if you actually want to go through and buy this or not. With that being said, I did end up buying this, clearly. So let's take this Skar King out of its package and look at him as a whole, as a proper figure without the interference of a box. Let's do it. Before we take a look at the figure, of course, this is the little sheet that shows you the batteries. When your figure does run out of batteries, how will you be able to change it? Well, this sheet is here to answer that very question. So, it also shows you the Battle Roar feature in case you really don't understand how it works, but I suppose you don't. You know, it's nothing interesting, but it's important. If you really need to know how to get the battery swapped, there you go. They have a solution included for you. Okay, let's take a look at this figure. Now, this is a completely new character, meaning this is the first time that this figure has ever been made. So, we are able to look at this with a fresh, new perspective. What is the main features of a Battle Roar figure? Well, of course, it's the sound. It's the sound. No lights, none of that, just the sound. Skar King has some of the same problems here as Kong did, which is the lack of articulation. At least for Godzilla's case, Godzilla had some articulation. pretty solid ones too. Now, I didn't really compare articulation with Kong and Godzilla, but I can compare articulation with Kong and Skar King, being that, you know, they're pretty much the same build. A major problem that I had with Skar King is with the 6 inches, he was very short and he was very skinny compared to Kong. It looked like Kong would have no problem taking him out whatsoever. It didn't seem like Skar King was a credible threat. Now, is the same situation going on here? Well, having seen the trailer and having seen Skar King and Kong clash for like 3 seconds, I kind of have an idea of what the fight's gonna be like now. And I would say the 6-inch figure's still not accurate. The Battle Roar figure here, well, a little bit more accurate. Skar King is slightly taller than Kong, but he's a lot skinnier than Kong. Kong has the muscles for sure. So the Battle Roar figures here, scale-wise, this looks more like it. This is more in scale. Kong does feel like he's the underdog compared to Skar King and Skar King's whip. Now we'll look at the Skar King figure in detail in a second, but comparing wise, you can see they're kind of in a similar position in a case, and of course the articulation for both of them is also quite limited. Now, the articulation mostly comes with the arms, legs, and that, and the head has no articulation, but something that Kong does really well, and it now carries over to Skar King, is that there is good rubber on the face, because with the rubber, it creates great facial expressions. When you press the Battle Roar button and he roars, it kind of acts like muscles in a way, where his face is clenching up and he's roaring. So let me quickly show you Kong. Obviously, I did a full review on him, so you can see that in more detail, but let me quickly show you what I'm talking about. See, when he does the roar, his face clenches up a little bit from the rubber. That is something they did really well with the old Kong. Despite looking goofy, they did it really well with this one as well. That has been carried over to Skar King here. Skar King's face is also soft, flexible rubber. As you can see, I'm like pushing my finger on it. Very flexible rubber, kind of like an elastic band, if you will. The great thing about it is that when you have soft rubber like this, and his Battle Roar feature is the same as Kong's, when he roars, his face also clenches up and it shows great muscle going on. So let's show you that. So of course the button is back here right by the whip. See how his face clenches up? I'm glad that they're using this rubber face concept, and if they decide to do like a Battle Roar Suko or any other type of ape titan, they definitely need to continue that concept, because that is smart on their part. It makes the figure feel realistic. Now, unfortunately, that also means sacrificing the articulation, which of course limits the playability, because playability mostly comes with playing with the figure, and the articulation is definitely lacking here. Before I do that though, let's compare him to the 6-inch Skar King. This is the regular 6-inch Skar King, and this has a lot of articulation. As you saw in the review, there was waist articulation from the arms as well, legs as well, a little bit on the head, lots of articulation going on, so there's great playability with the 6-inch. Now, put them side by side, they actually look quite alike. I would say the Battle Roar one's a little bit darker in the color. It's a bit of a darker red. It's more brighter for the 6-inch one here, but the facial expression is, I think, a lot better with the Battle Roar one. It actually shows like he's roaring. This one he's just kind of snarling. That's about it. Now, the biggest difference is, of course, apart from Battle Roar, is the whip. The whip is an extra accessory which you can detach from Skar King and put in his hand, and he can use it to fight, as he will do in the movie. He's going to use his whip quite a bit, it looks like. Not the case for the Battle Roar figure here. The whip is part of the figure. It's part of the mold. It's molded into the figure. So while this one, you can detach it from him and he can hold it as an accessory, as a tool, you cannot do it for the Battle Roar here. If you attempt to take the whip out, you're gonna snap this thing, because this is molded into the figure, which personally, I don't mind, because it actually looks quite decent on him, and I wouldn't want to ruin its position by taking it out, that's for sure. But the whip itself actually looks pretty decent. You know, the texture is obviously bones, you know, this being a spine of some fallen titan that he's going to be using, and it showed in the trailer he has like a crystal blade at the end because it cuts Kong's hand as he tries to grab the whip. This hand doesn't have any movement, he can't hold the whip obviously, so most of the articulation is just within the arms and legs. So first articulation, of course, you have the arm here which can twist all the way around. You cannot twist this hand. I don't know, maybe it's just mine. Maybe you actually can, but it's super stiff. So I'm safe to say you can't twist the hand here. But of course, you can move the arms up and down, and the same can be said with this one. You know, this one he's kind of bending his arms, so the position may be a little bit weird. I guess if you do it like this, it looks like he's about to launch a punch at something. So there's that, and you can rotate the hand on this arm though, so there's that. I feel like the pose could have been better. Okay, it just looks like he's doing like a chicken wing, but it's okay. You know, I guess there's nothing I can do about it. And of course, leg articulation, you can articulate the legs like this. No knee articulation or feet articulation, just in the upper thighs itself, just like that. That's what I can do. So obviously very limited. Of course, you can't move the head because that's all the wiring built in from the soundboard, so that makes sense. The speakers, I will say, is actually covered up quite well with the whip. Now obviously for Kong's case, you can just see the holes there on his chest. You can see the speaker holes. Now for Skar King's case, it's somewhat better. You can still see the holes, but at least it's mostly covered up by the whip. So I think that's actually a good thing. You know, it looks good and it covers up some of the flaws. Unfortunately, that's not the case for this one. I did say the whip isn't detachable, but obviously you're going to ask, how are you going to access his battery box when he runs out of battery? So the whip's there. Well, you can detach a little bit of it. This much. You can attach this much, just enough to make room for you to access the box. And that is about it. Visually, like I said, it looks pretty good. It is darker than the 6-inch one, but the shades of red is pretty nice because it blends in with the white pretty well, which is also quite dark red. Honestly speaking, looking at Skar King in the trailer, it looks like he's more on the bright red side. When he's on the surface fighting Kong in the city, it does look like he's more darker. So again, it really reflects on the environment that these creatures are in. And you can see a little bit of white fading out into the rest of the body and his chest tattoos, which is all white. And of course, the face, I would say, is a very realistic looking face. And that's something they're able to exceed with all three Battle Roar figures, is the face. All three Battle Roar figures, between him and Kong, it's a bit more realistic. It makes sense with his size, and we've seen some shots in the trailer of him fighting in the city. He's definitely taller than some buildings. He's definitely huge, but is he bigger than Godzilla? We haven't really seen a shot of Skar King and Godzilla going at it. It was mostly between him and Kong. These three Battle Roar figures have been nothing but perfect. Sure, they still have some minor issues in there and then. These three figures have been my favorite from everything I've opened so far. These guys look the most realistic, and despite lack of articulations for all three of them, they just look the best and the most realistic. We're talking about scale here, so here's the Battle Roar Mechagodzilla, of course, also 7 inches, and of course I recently reviewed this. You know, this looks more like it. No, obviously these two will never meet. Skar King, after all, is a gorilla slash monkey titan. He is not one of the most powerful titans. I know Adam Wingard has been trying to push that narrative, but let's say he's just a big threat with the whip and of course his intelligence and the army, that's for sure. I think being a new character, Playmates has done a pretty good job turning Skar King into a Battle Roar figure here. The only criticism I would give is probably more articulation would have been nice. But the Battle Roar is good, the colors are good, overall a solid figure. So out of 10, I would give it a 8 out of 10 for sure. I do like how they kept the importance of the battery box, so the whip is detachable at that specific part. That's important because that would be a major flaw if it was locked in and suddenly your Skar King's out of batteries. It's over. You can't switch the batteries. Will they do more though? I'm pretty sure Skar King's not going to survive this movie. He's going to end up being dead at the end. But they may do another version of him. Who knows? But this has been pretty solid. Him and Mechagodzilla are like the one-time characters. And Playmates is able to do them justice. They didn't make any room for an ugly looking figure. So they start off well. If they decide to make more, then they of course can make it a lot better. Thanks for watching this review of this final Battle Roar figure. Of course, if you want to see Godzilla and Kong, check the videos prior. They came out before this one, so go check them out. And of course, in the playlist in the description, end screen, and information card. That's it for this review. Thanks so much for watching. We are officially done with the Battle Roar figures. That's great. Now we can move on to the giant figures, which will be coming next on the agenda. But not before that, we got the 3-inch figures to look at. So, if you're excited to see those reviews, hit that bell so you don't miss it when they come out. As for now, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.